Okay, the next definition we're going to look at is frequency. Okay, and so frequency tells us the number of complete cycles the wave completes in a unit interval. Okay. And so if we have a sine function written in standard form, the frequency is just going to be the absolute value of b divided by 2 pi, which is the reciprocal of the period. Okay, so it's probably easier to remember it that way. Okay, the frequency is just the reciprocal of the period. Okay, so example 3, find the amplitude, period, and frequency of the function and use this information to sketch a graph of the function in the window -3 pi to +3 pi by -4 to +4. Okay, and when they say that, this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. Okay, so we're going to look at two of these. The first one is f of x equals 4 sine of 2x divided by 3. Okay, and so remember to find the period, we need to write this so that x is not included in this fraction. So you could write it as 4 sine of 2/3 x. So we're just going to pull that fraction out so it helps us find the period. Okay, so the amplitude of this function is the absolute value of a, which in this case is 4. Okay, so the amplitude is 4. The period is 2 pi over b, which is 2/3. Okay, when I divide fractions, I take the numerator and multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. Okay, so this would be 6 pi over 2, which is 3 pi. So the period of this function is 3 pi. Okay, the frequency is just the reciprocal of the period. So in this case, it's 1/3 pi. Really, this is just telling us, I mean, we know that if this is the period, one full cycle of the graphs is 3 period units long. Okay, and that's literally what the frequency is telling us. 1/3 pi, okay, if the frequency is 1/3 pi, this is telling us that the graph completes one full cycle per interval length. okay, of 3 pi. So one full cycle is 3 pi units long. Okay, so let's graph this. So the direction said we're graphing it in a viewing window that goes from negative 3 pi to positive 3 pi, and our y goes from negative 4 to positive 4. Okay, if we go all the way back to those opening graphs of sine and cosine, okay, you'll see that when I graphed this, I broke this period up into 4 sections, so quarter units. Okay, that's because you can graph this using these quarter intervals. Okay, so for example, the standard function starts at 0, hits its max here, okay, at this first interval, hits the x-axis here, then the min, then back up here. Okay, cosine is the same. So if I'm graphing this function, okay, I'm just going to split this into 4 sections. Okay, and I'm not even going to worry about what these numbers are yet. I'll go back and tell you how to figure these out because I don't want to confuse you. I just want you to focus on the graph for right now. Okay, so the sine function, and then we'll graph the negative sign, okay, starts at 0. This number right here, okay, it's going to hit its max, then it's going to hit 0, then it's going to hit its min, and then it's going to come back to 0, okay, before it starts over. So since the period is 3 pi, okay, one full cycle of this graph is 3 pi units long. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you're going positive or negative. So if I were to split this into 4 intervals, right, it would come down here, hit its min, here, hit its max, okay, and then it would come this way, one full cycle. Okay, and there's that function. So this is what you need, and when it asks you to do this in your homework, this is all you need. If you want to go back and label these intervals, okay, you're going to take this and you're going to divide it by 4. Okay, so this would be 3 pi over 4. Okay, this would be 6 pi over 4. This would be 9 pi over 4, and then this would be 12 pi over 4, which simplifies to 3 pi, and you can reduce these as well. Okay, 6 pi over 4 simplifies to 3 pi over 2. Okay, 9 pi over 4 doesn't simplify, and then 12 pi over 4 simplifies to 3 pi. Okay, you don't have to label these when you do your homework, but that is how you would do it. You divide your period by 4, okay, 3 pi over 4 is your first interval. Then to get your second one, you add 3 pi over 4. So 3 pi over 4 plus 3 pi over 4 is 3 pi over 2, plus 3 pi over 4 is 9 pi over 4, plus 3 pi over 4 is 3 pi. Okay, and so that's how you would set up your intervals. Or that's how you would label the numbers on this axis, I guess you could say. Okay, so there is that graph. You can see that one full period, right, is 3 pi units long. The frequency tells us that in one interval length of 3 pi, you're going to create a full cycle, or you're going to complete a full cycle. Okay. Let's look at another one. So let's say that we have y equals negative 2 times the cosine of 2x. Okay, so let's write what we know here. Our amplitude, okay, is the absolute value of this number, so it's 2. Our period is 2 pi over b. B is 2, so 2 pi over 2 is pi, so our period is pi. Okay, this matters as well. Remember, that's a reflection. okay, across the x-axis. And that's going to be important as well, so you have to pay attention to that. Okay. So now I need to graph this same, right, viewing window. The direction said go from -3 pi to +3 pi and 4 to -4. Okay, but here's the difference. In this, for this graph, my period was 3 pi, which made that really easy. In this graph, my period is pi, right? It's not 3 pi. Okay, so that actually means I need to set up my periods in here. Okay, so I have pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, -2 pi, -3 pi. So from -3 pi to +3 pi, I'm actually going to be able to graph 6 periods, okay? So my period is pi, right? So I need to break this into quarters. Okay, and my amplitude is +2. Okay, so my function is going to oscillate between -2 and +2. Okay, this is a cosine function. So cosine, if you remember, starts at the max. Okay, so or at the origin, I should say. If you're starting at the origin, the cosine starts at the max. If you're starting at the origin, the cosine starts at the max. Okay, for sine, if you're starting at the origin, it starts at 0. Okay, but this is cosine. All right, so we should start at our max here. However, remember this negative sign means we're reflected across the x-axis. So we're actually going to start at our min. Okay, my first interval. Okay, let me go back to this cosine graph too. With cosine, okay, we start at our max, then it hits the x-axis, min, x-axis, max. Okay, so here we're doing the opposite. Okay, so we're starting at the min, x-axis, max, x-axis, min, x-axis. Okay, and we're just continuing that max, x-axis, min, x-axis, max, min. Okay, so just on the positive side, right, you've got 3 full cycles. Okay, same thing is going to happen here. And I'm going to have 3 full cycles here. Okay, and pretend I'm going through those points. Okay, and that's what my graph is going to look like for this. Okay, when you're graphing these, you can check this on your calculator. There we go. Okay, you can check these on your calculator. So for this one I just did, right, which is -2 cosine 2x. Okay, I'm going to set up my window. So I'm graphing on a viewing window from -3 pi to +3 pi. Okay, our x interval was pi over 4, right? To figure out our interval, we take our period and we divide by 4. Okay, and then I'm going from -4 to +4. Okay, and I can graph it and it should match what I have on my paper, and it does. Okay, so when you do these, you need to do these without using your calculator. Okay, but you can check